It's the nature of filmmaking and design that the final products are much more visible than their creators. Now, the level of recognition to the contribution of people behind the scenes, I reckon, is limited. Well, this week we pay homage to some of the finest human beings I know, humans who are changing the rules of the game. Now, also on the show tonight is the singer, songwriter and actor serving you some swag. I'm Lyngdoh. This is Showtime. Let's go meet my guests. Please say hello to the independent filmmaker from Shillong and the founder of Reddur Productions. Meet the Assam-based interior designer giving an all-new definition to spaces. And in the house is the dynamic young man who is often deemed as an all-rounder, and we will tell you why. My first guest is the founder of Reddur Productions, a production space for films and music. Now, with numerous awards and recognitions under his repertoire, he is certainly no stranger to the film industry. His first feature fiction film, Lorni the Flaneur, starring Adil Hussain, is making noise for all the right reasons. The very talented WANPHRANG K. DIENGDOH. WANPHRANG, first of all, welcome to the program. Well, my first question to you is, have you always wanted to be a filmmaker?
Thank you for having me over, Aaron. To answer the question in short, yes, I've always wanted to be a filmmaker, but I suppose I've had my fair share of a journey, so to say, to arrive to where I'm finally at. And it's been quite an adventurous one. It's been a very guarded life, very, like I said, one that was filled with a lot of events, and yeah, I enjoy what I do.
All right, so when did you decide to give Reddur a form?
It all started when I finished my master's program from New Delhi, and I had this burning desire to set up a production house. And we just decided that the name Reddur had a certain kind of a ring to it, which was kind of catchy, and that's how it all started, And then subsequently, the following year, I came back to Shillong, and somehow the other managed to do a film called 1987, which in fact had its first premiere at the first Guwahati International Film Festival, and we won all the awards for that film. Interesting thing was that I was so elated. The organizers said that they were going to give you a cash prize. They were going to give me a cash prize, but that never happened. But the joy was that a film from Shillong had finally won something, and it was something to sort of celebrate and be proud about.
So speaking of 1987, what's the film all about? It's bagged all the awards at the GISFF Film Festival. What's the film all about?
It's basically historical fiction set in the year 1987. So for people who've lived in Shillong, they're quite aware that that year was a year that was scarred by rallies and riots. And I looked at this story about this young Khasi person, youth, and his friendship with this Muslim tailor, So there were elements that were derived from actual events, but we fictionalized the entire film. It was a short film that we managed to do within non-existent budgets, non-existent crews. But it was also an indicator for me that one could do films with limited resources and limited technology. So yeah.
So what do you enjoy most, making documentaries or films, if there's a difference at all?
I think having done the work with the non-fiction documentary format for the longest time, and then jumping back and forth between music videos, the fiction form, you arrive at a stage where you realize that both these forms are pretty much the same. It boils down to this: how does one creatively use these forms to arrive at what they want to see? So a question that I often ask when people ask me that is news fiction or is news documentary? So these boundaries don't really matter for me. I suppose what's most important is how you tell a story as truthfully as you can, and in a way that can engage with your audience. So yeah.
So you have your first fictional feature film as well, Lorni the Flaneur, right? Tell us a little bit about the background, because I saw the promo and I thought it was really brilliant. I have not seen the movie. The promo is amazing. Tell us a little bit about the background.
I had just finished this film on the participation of indigenous Kasi Jantia labourers during the First World War. It was a documentary film, and we had spent about 4 years researching, filming all across India, filming in France, the UK. It eventually culminated, like I said, into this 92-minute film, which I was extremely happy because it was the first time that there was an actual film about labourers participating in the First World War. And I just wanted to take a little break from the whole non-fiction format, and I sort of revisited these previous scripts of mine. And this one just jumped out of the shelf, and it's about this aspiring detective in Shillong who's out of work and suddenly is being employed by someone who's just come from Delhi to investigate the disappearance of these objects of cultural values. And of course, it's a metaphor for a lot of things that are happening in Shillong. And it was I suppose it was a right point of time to also do the film, because we're all well aware that Shillong is also really transitioning, as with other small towns all across India. The rate of change of these small towns is very, very fast, So that film, or that screenplay rather, was very, very appropriate for that point of time. And we had the premiere of the film at a FIPRESCI recognized film festival. And it was the only film from India competing at the first feature category. And so we had the premiere at Talent Black Nights Film Festival. It is a FIPRESCI recognized film festival. It was the only film from India competing at the first feature category. And then subsequently after that, it was nominated for several awards at different film festivals. So we did the entire film festival circuit. And then finally it's found a home for itself on the OTT platform, Sony Live. And it's quite, I suppose it's quite an achievement for a state like Meghalaya, which does not have a fully fledged film industry like, say, perhaps Assam or West Bengal, And then for a film from a small industry such as ours to find its way on the landing page of an OTT platform is something that speaks volumes of the potential that filmmaking can have in this region.
As a director, what is that something that would draw your attention? The first thing when you look at a movie and watch a movie, it's that one thing that would actually capture your attention.
I suppose when I'm watching a film, all my senses are activated, So it's not just how well a picture or a frame or a shot looks like, or how beautiful the soundscape is. It's the working together of all of these different elements that make a film, that eventually make them non-existent, because when you look at a film, it works at such a interesting, fundamental, subconscious level that you do not recognize all the different elements that go into making of the film, and that is what makes it a great film. Whereas the moment I watch something and the audio is jarring or the picture is jarring, then it becomes problematic. But it's the seamless coming together of all of these different skills and forms and talents that make it the seamless narrative. So I suppose to answer your question in short, I think it would have to be how someone chooses to tell a story. I think a great story is something that just drives the film forward, and I suppose coming from Shillong, it's we're surrounded by stories, So yeah.
And speaking of talent, what do you reckon the aspiring, filmmakers from the region especially incorporate in their craft to push filmmaking a little bit further, if you will?
I think it's changing, because a lot of young people are also accessing different kinds of content online, So at one point of time when we were growing up, we had Doordarshan, and then subsequently with the arrival of cable TV, we were exposed to, content coming from elsewhere. But it was very restricted, And then, of course, we were the generation that also saw DVDs and VCDs, and in fact, even VHS for that matter. So our options were very restricted, And I suppose, it has pros and cons. But I think now the generation is exposed to a lot of different kind of materials and content coming from all over the globe, So in a way, I'm assuming that will also nudge them towards creating content that is different, creating content that is engaging, entertaining, But hopefully that is
Right.
also rooted from where they come from, because it's important to also place and root yourself from where you come from, because that is what makes you who you are.
You've been in the industry for quite some time now, right? How happy are you with the film industry? Let's say not just in Meghalaya, but let's say the entire northeastern region.
So the fraternity in the Northeast is, I would say very fragmented, in the sense that they all have their own setups in their own different states, and it's it's still, like I said earlier, it's still very, very nascent, And sometimes I would meet or bump into these other filmmakers from the region in all these film festivals, which is great because we get to share these ideas. We can gauge what is working, what is not working. How do we choose to represent these stories that are happening in this part of ours? I think it's important that we support each other because filmmaking is a collaborative effort, and I believe, and this is just my opinion, that someone who comes from the region can always tell their stories best. And to add to that, say for example, in comparison, whenever Bollywood does a film in the Northeast, it's very formulaic.
Very true.
Eventually, the whole region will have to be saved by mainland India, so to say. And then it's almost like we cannot function on our own. Like there has to be this mainland central India syndrome.
So that brings me to my next question. Sorry to cut you short. So is Bollywood the only ticket then for filmmakers to be successful?
Absolutely not at all. Like I said, a small film. A film coming from a small, non-existent space such as Shillong can find its premiere at Thailand Black Nights Film Festival, and then it was the first film festival that Anurag Kashyap played his film.
Right.
So if that has to speak volumes about growth, I suppose that's an indicator. But like I said before, with the question that you asked me, it's almost that like this monopoly of telling northeastern stories is also going to be captured by Bollywood. So it's just bizarre because it goes to show that there is no understanding of the region. It's almost the stereotypes that are being propagated on and on and on again, and there is no desire to want to engage with the actual reality of what happens here.
Right.
And that can only happen when you do sit down with people from the region, listen to their stories, listen to their histories, do a huge amount of research for the characters that you're building, so that they don't just become mere caricatures. It's to add to another point in that very, very long sentence. Recently, there were some people who interviewed me for the for Lonnie the Flaneur and asked me these very strange questions like but this is a detective film. Why do you need to put a local folklore there? And
why not? The question: why not?
And why not? Why is it that stories have to be so Bollywood centric? We have our own storytelling culture. We're an old Khasi culture that has only seen written form in the 1840s. So there's a way in which we tell stories, and I want to translate that into screen. And the way in which I do it is because I come from here, and no one should tell me that I can't do it.
And finally, WANPHRANG, what's in the pipeline? What are you currently working on?
Well, there are obviously, like if you're working as an independent filmmaker, you're constantly working on something or the other. I am writing a screenplay for the next two parts of this trilogy. So Lonnie the Flaneur was the first part. The second two parts are also set between here in Shillong, and then I also want to move and set some of the stories in Bombay, because it's also an assertion from my end that look, I can also do a story in Bombay, and I and I don't need this whole whatever. But so that's that there. And then of course, when I'm not doing films, I'm always sort of, doing music, or I'm writing in Khasi, my poems and my, other creative pursuits. So, one needs to keep busy.
Lonnie the Flaneur saw its premiere at the prestigious Tallinn Black Nights Film Festival in Estonia. It's the only Indian film competing at the festival. WANPHRANG DIENGDOH to many more. It's time now for a very short break. I will return with an innovative entrepreneur and interior designer who's changing the creative world we all know of, one space at a time. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, viewers. My next guest is the founder and principal interior designer of KA Design, a leading interior designing firm headquartered right here in Guwahati, Assam. Now, among other major achievements, KA firm was listed by Forbes India 45 Under 45 for excellence in interior design in Spain 2020, presenting the artistically sound KARISHMA KAKOTI. Karishma, first of all, welcome to Showtime.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me.
So, going into your 8th year of business,
Sure.
how important is it for you to reflect on those initial days when it all started?
Initial days was something which brought me here today, to be very honest, because I had been a very confident kid when I started, when I knew that I have to, go for interior design course. So initial days were quite hardship basically, because you have to, as an intern, you have to go to seniors, understand design. Not everybody will give you that scope of learning, and you have to struggle within yourself to understand how has this wood come, what is the material, and there are so many questions in those, all those aspects. So I had struggled a lot, trust me, and I think that brought me here. Even nobody taught me how to talk to a client, because that's the most important part of our business.
Right.
How do you meet a client, how do you make an impression at the first time, how do you motivate and turn the project. So all those things were something which really boosted me up, and with time, of course, and even today I'm learning as well. A very small part makes me grow every day. But yeah, I'm quite happy. So that brought me till here today, and yeah, things are all perfectly going good.
Well, fair enough. How has your culture and tradition influenced your design aesthetics?
I have been always inclined towards my state, trust me, because when I was studying in Germany as well, I think as a designer, why are we stuck only with few tactics and formulas? I have never been a person as a designer, I have never followed any rules, trust me, because I have always thought about it, let's say, work on something which comes to your head. So, the first initial product, if related to the question that we have today, is this. This is our Noka butterfly sofa, which I created at that point of time, because I think this is a Naga imprinted sofa with the motive that we have worked upon. So as a person, as a designer into the profession, I feel let's work on some heritage, element. So the sofa was something which I bought in, and now we have this separate company called KA Bespoke, which is only working towards the cultural motifs in products, that is sofa, high chairs, and these products are just made one at a time. We don't repeat that because it's very niche, because it carries a lot of emotions, hard work, women weaving, the clothes are woven, hand woven. So so I think the question for you, the question that you have asked me for, is something which I would really incline towards when KA Bespoke had been formed.
So tell us more about KA Bespoke. I just want to know its speciality.
Yeah, KA Bespoke is very close to my heart, because back in 2016, I thought, okay, I travel to Milan or I go to China to buy furnitures. What if I create something which is from my own culture? So I wore a mekla chadar in London, and then these people were like, wow, this is so nice, and what is it? I was like, wow, people appreciate it.
That's like a conversation starter also, right?
People appreciated a lot about it, and I'm like, why don't I create something in the furnishing? Curtains, cushions are something people are doing it, something out of the box. So the bespoke story is not only related to the sofa, but towards the women empowerment. Because women's are only working for me here, in terms of the fabrics that is getting woven, in terms of the construction that is getting done. I have my all employees who are women,
exactly.
So it is a bit related to the women part as well. So bespoke story is now 8 months old, and we are still in the process of growing. We have recently tied a deal with Dubai.
Okay.
So maybe very soon we'll be opening our office there for KA Bespoke.
Wow, best of luck for that.
Thank you.
You know what? I want to talk a little bit about KA Design. It started in 2016. Please correct me if I'm wrong. 2016, right?
Yes.
And the aim is obviously to promote Northeastern culture. How has that panned out for you?
It has gone really wonderful till date, because as a designer I started working for being a designer, making houses, clubs, hotels, But when it came to how am I standing different from others, was this part, bespoke. Because going very green, because I have done my course, I mean, in green design. So sustainability was something which I had been always in me. So including sustainability as well as the bespoke products all together has brought me into a very different scale. The normal phenomena, how the interior design market works, of designing the flooring, the ceiling, furnitures are ongoing, but we even also try to work on something very different. Every project has this signature style. So we are trying to work on a very different scale as of now.
Right, it's interesting that you talk about sustainability, because that's the discourse on every national and international level. How are you incorporating sustainability and something green into projects and interiors? Again, it comes because this business is again client oriented, because we can't really force people. But when most of the times we had been saying our client, go green. So who accepts it? It's very easy for us. Other way around. If not, then we have to follow their design thing only. So a lot of times when we talk about sustainability, it's better for them. I have been trying to say this to our clients, it increases your health, because we'd be using products which are of low VOC, volatile organic compounds. It can be paint or wood or flooring material, anything in that case. We can use green plants, which helps you for your own respiration, of the whole aesthetic and environment. Let's say if you have a house, why to put a lot of bills? And we can design the house in a way so that there isn't good air circulation as well as a lot of illumination that would reduce your lighting cost. So these are something you have to literally speak it out to the client, and they will, oh wow, is this a green design? Okay, I'm gonna go for it. So that's how something it has been. It's a challenging part again here, but it's very interesting. People are accepting. My first project was in Kharguli, which I did it for an apartment. That was a green design. I won't say 100%, but at least 80% of the products were, accredited, and these were the green design products. And recently we have signed for a co-working space, which is going totally green. So especially for working for Guwahati market in green design is something very wow. Few projects in Bangalore, Delhi has been all the sustainable homes. So it's very interesting. Right. And speaking of being in a creative field, as an innovative entrepreneur, what do you do differently and make sure that you have your creativity intact, while at the same time you also have to cater to your client's vision?
I think that's the secret that I'm gonna I have to tell you though, because the question here lies. So when I meet the client, I had become a psychologist though.
That's what you did. That's what you did to me when I entered, right?
So I know what the client wants, and then I cater that to him. But yes, of course, I have to motivate him, because see, they're clients and they would be coming to us with an expectation. So I can't really just put those normal designs which is ongoing in the market. So if they're coming to K Design, I make sure that they have a beautiful house or a beautiful space with something very different. So I mentioned them because each project of ours till date, we have completed almost 120 projects. Every project has its own signature. My first point out here for every project is I check the person, and then I create the space according to him. Let's say I'm doing a house, so any person getting in your house would know this is your house. So I work on the lifestyle, I work on the person's personality, and then created something that's
makes
first
sense.
thing I do. Second thing, I have not followed any of the, I would say, education I have learned in terms of design, because I've always done something which comes to my mind. I go to the site, I imagine, and that's something as in sixth sense I have. I totally know how the space will look like.
Exactly, that's my next question. Sixth sense. Please explain to us the sixth sense in detail.
Yeah, and I don't know, that has been like my inborn quality maybe, because I don't know, I feel like when I go to the space or I'm talking to a person, I can already imagine the 3D, how it will look like, what do I want, like the black sofa, printed wall, red couch, everything is in combination. Then I show a pin board, to the client and make him imagine, and he's like, wow, so we never knew there's something so out of the box. So why to be always in the same line of white walls, gray sofa, there is nothing restricts you, because design is your head. Basically it's in your brain cells, and
I agree.
It just has to be out. So there is no formula of like you cannot mix a contemporary and a minimal design. You can mix everything, create something, but you have to be very confident that it carries the personality and the person. So once we are done and the person is like, oh wow, I'm a photographer, I never imagined something like this work. And then I think the clients have also boosted me quite a lot here, because when I completed such projects, people have told me like, oh wow, I'm getting appreciations, I never knew something had existed. So that is also boosting my confidence. So these are something as an USP I would say, that I never go on a monotonous design. I try to experiment a lot.
Is it more instinctive, if you will, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sixth sense is on the design part. Sixth sense is also I know what I have to speak so that the client doesn't feel bad, or maybe he should move forward with us.
Wow.
So also the sixth sense would be, I would say, in terms of such selection, when we go for a selection, I know the client would like that. So I'm like, please get me that. So I'm like, oh yeah, I even saw that.
Wow. I'll send you pictures of my space, and obviously I would need a lot of feedback from
Yeah,
you.
sure, anytime.
You know, Karishma, speaking of residential spaces, or even we're talking about commercial spaces, is there a design philosophy in particular that you follow, or maybe what kind of methodology involved in doing and creating all these spaces that you do? Is there a kind of a common thread, if you will?
The common thread would be the layout planning, because I feel whatever design we do in terms of the look or the material we use or the budget, the layout plan has to be very important. I mean, it has to work through ergonomics, anthropology. A person sitting should not, like the sofa, couches. I mean, for design we have so many designs, but I have to understand if the person have some issue with his back. I cannot give him a sofa which will recline a lot.
You have to take all of that into consideration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I study the lifestyle of a person, and then the color combination comes in, because a lot of people have migraine issues or they have kids. I cannot be using those slippery tiles, let's say. So all those things, I'm actually a doctor itself, I feel sometimes, because it really lists down what issues do you have.
Exactly. Firstly,
Play it on a color psychology while we are purchasing.
that's a lot of work.
Yeah,
That's a lot of work.
but it's very interesting, because I know where the locker in the house is, and the client is not like, "Aapko hi pata hai." I know where the locker is, you know. So they're like, okay, Karishma, you know, it's very fun working. Trust me, design is something very fun, and when you have interesting clients to work with a similar approach, it's very interesting. So the layout plan is something very important. So when we get a space, the client expects, I want this, so many things at a time, but how would you fit it? That's our job. So you ask me, how is a small space, office is ours, but you know, how are we fitting everything?
Right.
So I think the layout plan is something very important. So that's how we create the layout plan, show them like, these are your, you know, thing. If the person is into books, you know, the bookshelf has to be hidden. So you know, if the person wants a bar, and also, you know, there are a lot of people coming in, but the space is very small, we have to go for a modular furnitures, which can be a bed and also a sofa. So the layout plan is very important for me. In terms of residence, it can be a bar, it can be, you know, hospital, school, anything in that case. I specifically work for the layout.
Okay.
I make them very sure this is a perfect thing, and then I go to the design. So when it comes to design, I had told you, I mean, I have never been into a specific thing. I had always recreated and wanted to, you know, the space to be very vibrant and of course the talk of the town. That has been always my thing. I mean, I don't know.
Being in design for a very long time, of course, it's the space and the interior that, you know, you're specialized in. What has it done to you as an individual? Has it changed your perspective towards, you know, life personally?
Yes.
In
A
what
lot.
way? Yeah.
I don't know. Every day I feel I'm growing. My thinkings are changing. Personally, on my personality, if I talk, I think I have learned how to motivate people. For a way, I have learned how to manipulate people in terms to good, not bad.
Yeah, exactly. Manipulation can be good.
Yes.
Yes, why not?
I have like felt like, you know, every day I'm learning something new, and I have so much in my head. Sometimes I feel like I should open my brain and keep it somewhere. Every time there is design.
Right.
I mean, I can create this, I can create this, and you know, I'm happy. You know, those things are something I'm implementing on my client side.
Right.
But I think in my personality, I had really been happy. I'm seeing myself grow every day. The confidence that these people are giving it to me. I feel I'm a bit different from the others. That's my own self-confidence. So, and beyond that, I feel a lot of, if you know, we have also a school. I mean, we opened up a school, a design school. That was the reason, because I'm learning, I'm growing. People, my employees who are with me, especially all the women's with me, they're also growing with me. But, you know, I want, like, you know, whatever I have learned all this while, I have studied from outside, I want those things to be also implemented to the generation who's coming up. And they're very confused what interior design is. So, you know, so that's the reason we started online courses for KA School of Design, and now we are opening practically for that.
Right, yeah.
So I really want to groom those people, and that is not something which I'm looking for revenue making, but trust me, I want the design perspective to be in everybody's head and understand, like, design is not a course or not something that you have to learn. It is within yourself. How you carry your dress, how you're wearing a black or a pink, that's a combination. I make it and I create something for the space. That happens to me. So I think this is how things had been.
And finally, Karishma, is there anything that you're working right now? What's in the pipeline?
There are a lot of things. Should I tell that?
Please do, if you don't mind. Please do.
Interior design is all ongoing. We are trying to launch few very luxury furnitures very soon with her themes again.
Okay.
Very, let's say, from the period of Renaissance, Baroque design, something very different that we are still on the process. We have opened this school which is ongoing. I'm looking forward for a lot of people to come in and join. I have no issues for the fees and something because it is to actually make them grow. I want the design to be flowing up everywhere. Bespoke is on our pipeline. It has something very big because I told you we're opening an office in Dubai. And Bespoke, we are slowly will be launching a lot of other collections. Let's say wall hangings or maybe lights, a set. Let's say a person wanting a room showing up their culture maybe, or a restaurant or a bar. We should not go with something very, very raw. Let's say how we have been seeing bamboo furnitures. People, they don't have interest. Like, no, please, no bamboo furnitures.
They feel it's done to death. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But the other people in Australia or my friends in Germany, they are like, wow, it's something different. So I'm trying to recreate things in Bespoke so that people understand, no, bamboo is not just boring. Bamboo can be also implemented in a way so that new things can pop up. So we are on the process of making those collections. And we are also looking for a new company which will get in things for one-stop solution for low house costing, because I feel a lot of people come to me and they feel design is luxury, but it's not. Design is luxury, but till a point. People who are into mediocre family can also have design done. So to change the mentality of that, we are bringing low costing designs for such people. So these are something as of now that we are planning. And let's see.
Brilliant. Karishma, I've not had a creative conversation in a very long time. Thank you so much for your time and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
KA Design has a high-end clientele and is currently dealing in residential, commercial and hospitality projects, and it is a full-fledged company. Karishma, thank you so much for a great conversation. Now we will take another short break. Coming up next is an all-rounder who we thought has effortlessly blended creative talent and academic excellence. Stay right there. Welcome back, viewers. My next guest is a VH1 T-Series and Rolling Stone featured singer, songwriter and actor. He is a touring artist on the weekends and a teacher of history and global perspectives on weekdays. The very suave Rahul RAJKHOWA. Rahul, singer, songwriter, actor, music producer, faculty. How does one juggle all of that?
Thank you so much for having me here, Aaron. It's a pleasure. See, I'll tell you, if I take it back all the way to my school days, I was the cultural affairs captain at school. And I had to juggle multiple things even then. I was leading the school debate team. I had to organize plays. I had to organize concerts for the school and not just perform, also manage, So work with my event management team, put all these events together. And you know how it is in boarding school. The kids have a lot of responsibility, right? Because they're trying to teach kids to take up roles so that, they're prepared for the future, for the corporate life and everything. So from a very young age, I was pushed into that space where I had to handle multiple things. I was also swimming for my house team. I was also doing cross country running on the side. And all of this, actually, I immersed myself into so many things because in our school, we used to have these boards where they used to write down the names of the people who did really well in academics. So that had a long list. The names of all the people who were excelling in sports, their name was there. And then there was one board which had the least names. And the names of all the all-rounders were listed on that. And that had only 7 or 8 people since 2001. So, and this is about, I think this is about 2007 or 8. And my dad came and he's he came to pick me up for the holidays one time. And then he's like, this list only has 7 people. Rahul, I want your name on that list, on the all-rounder list. So I was like, all right, let's do this. So pretty much, that boarding school Josh was there, no? So that pretty much pushed me into dabbling with multiple things at once. So I'm still treating this like a high school playground. Every time it gets too overwhelming, I keep telling myself, Rahul, it's okay, you got this, you got this, you got this.
You also started running your own relief drive for Assam's annual flood. Now, how did all of that start?
In 2015 and 16, I was reading that the loss was devastating, but very few people were actually talking about the Assam floods, especially in the national media space. Like our local news channels were talking about it. We were making a lot of noise about it, but you wouldn't see a Republic TV or a Times Now or NDTV talking so much about the Assam floods, or even the major newspapers for that matter. So in 2017, my high school friend Himanshu, who's also my partner at the NGO, Himanshu Arya. So he's been shooting my music videos since I was a school kid. Like we were also roommates back in school, and we are still pretty tight. So Himanshu and I decided that, you know what, let's just go shoot a music video. We will appeal to people's emotions, rather than just like, hitting at them with hard, cold facts. If you can just like play with their emotions, you might get the message across. And at that point of time, I was still in JNU and I was getting popular because of the rap songs that I was writing already, addressing a lot of social issues and stuff. So Himanshu and I went in 2017. We went with small donation boxes and then we shot a music video there. And what we saw there, like, it really broke our hearts, because we knew a lot of money was coming in for the relief camps, but none of it was being used properly. They were getting incomplete rations. They were just giving people like bags of rice with like a bottle of oil. I mean, what do you do with that? Like, what are people supposed to do with bags full of rice and like 2 bottles of oil? So we thought, you know what, let's organize this properly. Let's give them relief kits where they can actually cook a meal, for a week or 10 days. We spoke to a lot of people, emotional stories, and then we put out the music video. And that year, I became the Twitter ambassador for the Northeast, using social media as a medium to bring about positive change. A year later, randomly, I was sleeping, not even kidding, Aaron. I was sleeping. I got a call in the morning, and this person, he called me up from Hyderabad, and then he said that, listen, Rahul, I just read an article about you on the Better India, and then I saw your music video. I want to donate some money for the Assam floods. Then I'm like, listen, I'll connect you to the NGOs. And I was like, no. I don't trust no NGOs. I want to give the money to you because you're a public personality and you're going to figure out what to do and you're not going to mess this up. And then he's like, okay, just give me a Google Pay number. And then before I could say anything, it's like, this is your Google Pay number, right? He searched me up and he just sent me like 40 grand. And that was like the first time someone had just sent me 40,000 over a phone call. Like I hadn't received money like that before, except for my shows. Suddenly I'm under pressure because, Aaron, if someone is trusting you with 40,000, it's a lot of money, right? You got to do something with it. And now that I've actually started preparing relief kits for people in the villages, 40,000 can at least bring you 150 relief kits. You can feed 150 families with that much money. So I call up my partner Himanshu. He's really good with the business stuff because he comes from a Marwari family and they're just good with all of this. So we put this whole thing together and then we were like, you know what? I'll be the face of the movement. You handle the management side, and together let's start an outfit which relies on transparency and honesty. So these two were our USPs. We started a proper crowdfunding campaign. We told people we will make sure we document everything from the time we buy the supplies to the time we get it there, so that there's complete honesty and transparency between both of us. So 2019 was quite successful, and then 2022 we went even bigger. Now we've also adopted 5 schools. We've got some heavy funding, and now we've adopted 5 schools where we've been helping with the reconstruction program. We've also tied up with the government on refurbishing a couple of schools in Guwahati as well. So now we are completely legit and official. Yeah.
Your music also addresses social and environmental issues, and you've received numerous awards and recognition for doing so. Was that always the intent, or did you gradually feel the need to do so?
So when I was in college, I went to St. Stephen's in Delhi University. And in my final year of college, I really wanted to go to college festivals and perform, because I was missing out on that. Like I was playing with professional bands and we were doing pro shows, pro music festivals, but I'm missing out on the college scene, So in my final year, I started a band and it was very, very competitive. Not even kidding, Aaron, my seniors who were there competing with us and, we were watching them as spectators. Now all of them are like running the indie scene right now. Like some of them are on Times Square, New York, billboards and stuff. So we had to like follow example because these people had set a very high benchmark. So I was like, man, we need to match up to this level. And we can't just be doing regular pop songs. And from a very young age, I felt very personally about like the social causes and the evils that existed in India. I think that comes from my debating background because, for debates and MUNs, we really had to read up a lot of things. So I was like, what if we took a message and put it on a groovy song? So it gives people something to think about, like long after the concert is done. you know. So that happened. We would talk songs about about equality, about domestic abuse, but really catchy songs about, stuff like that. And then it started ringing with people. The judges would come and tell us afterwards, and like, how are you guys making like catchy music about songs that are so serious and that need to be addressed, at the same time. So that provided the impetus to do that. It really took on to another level when I was in JNU, and I started, writing songs about injustices, like about the seat cuts, the unfair practices of the government at the university. So when I started addressing all of these issues, Times of India wrote articles about it, Scoop Whoop, The Quint, all of these people started pushing it out, and it started getting major recognition. That's when I realized, wow, if you can use social media as a proper medium to get a message across, it can really hit home run. So that's what provided me the impetus, Aaron.
Rahul, I want you to talk to us about your track, No God Ever Taught to Hate. For a simple reason, it's catchy. I feel I already know it. But above all, I feel it's just so relevant.
Yeah. That song was a special one because back in 2000, that 18-19 phase, there were a lot of mob lynchings happening around the country, and for eating beef and for following a different faith. And Amir Khan had made a statement about, I don't feel safe in India anymore. And he probably said it because it was coming from a certain space. But then everybody just went so hard on him. This is like the IT cell troll era, right? Like they're on to media celebrities. They're lynching them on social media. They're lynching people in person. That entire violence surrounding the sanctity of faith in India, because we are a secular country, right? We are such a diverse country. Religion was supposed to mean peace. Like if you go to a church, you go to a temple, you go to a mosque, like it's such a peaceful space. But people are using the ideology that is discussed in that peaceful space to perpetrate violence. So, you're ruining the sanctity of religion. So I was seeing all of that violence happen, and I was like, man, like, we are really not cut out for something like this. At least the newer generation, we can't be using religion as a mode for violence. Like this is not the 15th century where the crusades are happening, We've got to address each other with more love and affection rather than using our faith as a difference between us, right? Like we've got to be more accepting of each other. So that's why I decided to write No God Ever Taught to Hate, because God never told us to perpetrate violence against each other. Like Jesus never said, I am better than Ganesha, or Ganesha never said, I'm better than Prophet Muhammad, It was just about a way of life. Gautam Buddha never cared about what Mahavir had to say, right? So that was the main idea behind the song, like no God ever taught to hate, just like more love, more peace, more unity.
Now, despite the purposeful music, you also come across to us as this very cool, fashion-forward, fun guy. Now, how important is showmanship in showbiz?
Oh, it's very, very important. I think I read this interview like really, really long ago. It was a Mick Jagger interview, and I love Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones. So he's like, if you are not performing, I would rather listen to you on tape. And then I was like, yeah, if the person's not putting on a show, your fashion isn't on point, your personality isn't on point, I would rather listen to you on tape. Like, why would I pay money to come to your concerts? If there are people traveling from different cities, like my show in Pune, this weekend, I'm getting messages from people all over in Bombay and, Delhi. They're like, bro, we haven't seen you in so long. We need to fly down and like catch you at this concert. So if people are putting in the effort, Aaron, to come to your shows, like you don't need to win a Grammy award, you don't need to win an MTV Music Video Award. Like people are already spending their hard-earned money to come watch you. So there has to be a reason, right? You can't be giving them a show where like you're not giving in your 100%. So that's why like fashion and performance and showmanship started becoming really, really important to me, because I realized at the end of the day, this is the entertainment business. It's called entertainment for a reason.
Speaking of showmanship, Toradoi, I thought, was packed with so much swag. The regional swag, and I mean that in the best possible way. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Was that your first Assamese song?
Actually, right now, I'm in the music producer's house, Sumit Torado. He just left for a recording session. So I've been waiting to work with this guy for a while, man, because him and his brother, they are both based out of Los Angeles. And he stays 6 months in Mumbai, 6 months in Los Angeles. And he's worked with some of the coolest people. So he judged me in a band competition when I was in college first year. He was the judge. So he really liked my music. His name is Iconic. So Iconic reached out to me a couple of years later, and a lot of people had been telling him, collaborate with Rahul, collaborate with Rahul. So he reached out to me one time, and then he said that, bro, listen, like we've been meaning to collab for so long. Warner Music has just reached out to me, and they want to start a new sub-label under Warner Music, where they're trying to make regional music more palatable for the international crowd. So I was like, see, but this is risky territory, huh, Aaron? Like, the video is also getting a fair bit of criticism. There are fair bit of negative comments on the video too, because like when you're trying to do something different, the conservative lot are going to get pissed off. Because they are like, yeah, like, why are you touching something that is so personal, so close to us? But see, at the same time, you have to understand that if a folk sound is so groovy, you've got to share it. Music is about sharing with people and about making it evolve, like there was a time when our parents were very, very personal about their R.D. Burman music. And then suddenly, like, there is Vishal Shekhar, there is Preetham, and then that Janta is finally listening. And suddenly there is this new Janta that listens to Lil Wayne. And there is another Janta that listens to Drake. Now, the people who are listening to R.D. Burman cannot be annoyed with the people who listen to Drake, because music is going to change over the years, right? And my idea behind this was, all right, cool. Like, I respect my roots as well. I mean, Bhupen Hazarika was a family friend. Zubeen Garg is a family friend. Like, we've done concerts together. Like, these people love me. So, and I would always have these conversations like, listen, like, there has to be evolution at some stage. Otherwise, how else do we get the world to groove to our music? Because Bihu music has been fun for the longest time, but we never received the same spotlight that Bhangra music does. Because like the Punjabi music community is like, you know what, let's take it to the weddings, let's take it to the concerts, let's make everybody dance. Assamese people are like, no, Bihu is personal to us, let's just keep it here, stick to the roots. Then I was like, nah, man, I want people at shadis to dance to this. I want people at barats to dance to this. And you know what? I want it on the fashion ramps too. Like, because why not, yeah? Northeast as a community, I believe we are the most fashionable community there is into the world. But why aren't we bringing our sounds as well as our culture onto the ramps? Like, why can't we do that? If fashion is already making it, people are experimenting with muga, and people are already using the style in which the Khasi women drape their outfit. They're already using it on ramps. Why can't we take music to the ramps too, It's the only way it's going to evolve.
And finally, Rahul, will you ever consider doing music full-time?
Aaron, I would say at this point of time, I'm already doing music full-time, because it's a balance between my teaching career and my music. And a lot of people have told me that, Rahul, when do you plan to eventually quit teaching and shift into music completely? To be honest, Aaron, my school gets over at 3 o'clock. Like, I start with classes at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 3 o'clock I'm done. And after that, it's all about music. I'm taking calls from my producers. I'm booking my next tour. I'm self-managed. So I'm talking to my agents. I'm booking my shows. So I'm already doing it full time. And the thing is, I can't just leave teaching like that, Aaron, because this is my shot at changing the future, If I can get these kids to start thinking more sensibly, to keep the planet clean, to not fight with each other on caste-based issues, on religion-based issues, I am changing the world, I want to put out at least 5,000 good students into the world before I call it quits on teaching and just do music entirely. But even if I do that, the ultimate plan, Aaron, is to start my own institution in Assam.
Now, Rahul Rajkhowa has collaborated with UNICEF, Keshav Suri and the Lalit hotels around the country. His song, No God Ever Taught to Hate, got him the CNN IBN Youth Ambassador for Peace title. Rahul, what a pleasure. Well, allow this episode to remind you of the force behind every finished product. Not to sound cliche, but give credit where credit is due. Let this episode also remind you that single-focused career paths are surely a thing of the past. WANPHRANG DIENGDOH, KARISHMA KAKOTI and Rahul Rajkhowa, thank you for making episode 6 look so good. You're watching Showtime. I'm Lyngdoh. I shall see you again next week. Until then, take care.